Hi everybody, I'm doing a video on maybe a more rare setup. I haven't seen one on YouTube or on the internet. A lot of videos talk about how to use 2 amps with one guitar. I'm using 3 amps, so it's a little weirder setup. Some of you may be interested. It's really got nice results. So I've got 2 Fender Champion 600 amplifiers that are connected in stereo. I'll show you how I got it set up. And I've got one Marshall DSL-40C that's used in mono in the middle. Okay, so I'm coming out of my guitar. I'm going to my pedals now. So I'm going in from the guitar, I'm going into an Ibanez Tube Screamer, which is an overdrive. And then I'm going back. I'm going into the Texas Bones overdrive. Okay, and then I'm going into a Sonic Maximizer stomp switch. Then I'm going into my SV500L for low impedance pedal. Okay, it's stereo pedal, so you either use left or right, doesn't matter. Then I'm coming out of the pedal, I'm going into an ABY switch, which is also made by Radial. So I've got AB, I can choose AB, or I can choose both on that. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. So my A, when I'm on A, I'm going to be selecting using my Marshall, and when I'm on B, I'm going to be using the 2 Champion 600s in stereo, and I'll get to that in a little while here. Okay, so when I come out of A to go to the Marshall, okay, it comes out of A, it goes to the input, okay, the input on the front of my Marshall here. Okay, then on the back I use the send return effects loop. The send comes all the way back here, comes into the input on my GT8, my Boss GT8, okay, which I use for stereo effects, okay, chorus or reverb or whatever, delay. That's all I use it for, because my overdrives and everything else is in the front here. So send from the Marshall amp comes to input, and then my output, which is left, which is a mono, as you can see here. Okay, I'm using it in mono. It's stereo effects, but I'm not using it in stereo. I'm using mono. So my left output is going to the return, going back to the Marshall. So the effects that I'm hearing, even though it's reverb or chorus or delay, doesn't matter. They're mono, but I'm hearing them in the Marshall in mono. Okay, so that's my mono setup with the Marshall. My A output on the ABY switch. Okay, now the other signal path, my B on the Radial ABY switch. Okay, the B output, it's got a wire going, okay, back over here. I got it near my amps. You don't have to do it this way, but this is how I did it. So I've got the B coming out. Okay, it's going to a graphic equalizer where I set it up the way I like it. Then I'm going from the graphic equalizer into RV6 reverb, a Boss reverb stereo pedal. So I'm using the input, which is mono, input A, which is mono, okay, but I'm using the 2 outputs on the left here, okay, and I'm going to each of the Champion 600 amps. So that gives me a mono input, but I get stereo effect output. So that's why my 2 Champion 600s are in stereo, okay, and I've got a separate EQ for that because I don't have any other EQ on that line. I do use the Boss GT8 EQ for my patches on that that I use to go to the Marshall. So I don't have an EQ on the B line, so that's why I have an EQ over there for that. Okay, and I'm using the clean channel on the Marshall. I don't use the overdrive. I do mostly blues and rock blues, and I use my pedals for distortion, not distortion but overdrive, so I don't need to use the channel B on that. Okay, which is the ultra gain channel. So basically that's it. So when I get, you can choose from, like I said, either the A or the B, which is the A is the Marshall, B is going to be my 2 Champion 600s in stereo because of the stereo reverb over there that comes out, goes to left, right to those. That's why it becomes stereo. And when you hit the both switch here on the ABY, I've got both of them. So obviously I had to work my levels so I get a nice mix between the Marshall and the Champions. Champions are just 5 watts, but it doesn't matter. I got them mixed, you know, everything is even, and the Fenders give a nice rounder bass tone to the Marshall that adds, you know, to the Marshall sound. So both together, really, I use it for most of my guitars, whether it's a jazz guitar, acoustic I'm using on slide, or the Les Paul or the Strat, doesn't matter. They all sound very good with both systems on there. Now, important thing with the volume here, okay, obviously I've got volumes on my patches set up on my GT8 for different guitars and stuff. That's important to do too. I don't want to get into that. But the volume here, which is right after my stomp box and after my overdrives, is important because I don't want to have a. I do use my my volume on my guitar as well, so I don't need another volume right after the guitar before going into the overdrives. Okay. So what I want to do is to be able to put my guitar in about 6 or 7 to get more of a clean sound, a cleaner sound, even though I do use the overdrive. You turn the volume on the guitar down and it gets a little cleaner, even if I'm using overdrives. And I turn the, I use the pedal to give a more of a volume on that. Okay, so I can adjust my overdrive with my guitar volume, the level I want, and then I turn the overall volume down using the foot volume, the foot pedal. So I can have I can hear a lot of overdrive even at a low volume, you know, on the amps because of the foot volume, because where it's placed after the overdrives. Okay, that's very important, depending on what you want to do with it. Some people might are not happy, maybe not at ease using a volume control on their guitar, and they want to have a foot volume instead. If that's the case, you can put it before your pedals, but you're not going to be affecting your overall sound. You're going to just be affecting the volume, just like you would if you were using your guitar volume. So I don't like using that. I use them both differently, so separately, so I get more bang for the buck. So basically that's my setup. So that's how you use 3 amps, 2 in stereo, 1 in mono. Just thought I'd share with y'all. Might give some ideas to somebody who might have some amps kicking around and some effects in that. I've never seen a setup like this on YouTube or anywhere, but it works very well, and I like it a lot, and it sounds really good with all my guitars. So hope you enjoyed this, and take care.